What's up, guys? Welcome back to Pete's Carport. And for those of you who are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. We have some awesome videos and some cool content coming, and some past content you might really enjoy. So today's video is going to be really fun because we're going to do a review on a Harbor Freight engine stand. And we're going to do it live. We're going to unbox it. We're also going to be mounting it to this 2jz here, so a very heavy motor, so we can actually put it to the test. Now, when I went down and picked up this motor, this is going to be our turbo build for Frank over here. And if you're new to the channel, Frank is our SC300 manual that we picked up. And this is a manual from the factory, so it's got the W58 trans. And along with this motor, I actually got another W58 trans that we're going to put in there right away because it's a better working trans right now. And we're going to build the clutch on the one that's in that car. So what we're going to do today is I went down to Harbor Freight. I picked up the 2,000-pound engine stand, like I said, and I'll talk to you about exactly the model on that here in a second. And when I picked this motor up, it was sitting on this exact stand. So I asked the person that I bought it from if I could go with a lower weight stand, and he said, I highly recommend you pick up the 2,000-pound one because the lower ones don't hold this engine that well. So I'm going to let you guys know that right now, that I'm pretty familiar with how this stand's going to work, but I wanted to do a full unboxing, mounting it to this engine while coming out of the car, so you guys can see how easy you could pull an engine out of the back of a truck bed or out of the back of an SUV and mount it right up onto this. And then I'm also going to break down how hard or how easy it is to actually put this thing together, because I have no clue. It looked like it was pretty easy in the store, but we're about to find out, so stay tuned. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the box now. This is the Pittsburgh 2,000-pound stand, SKU number 69521 if you're looking at picking it up. I got a coupon online for $99, and I think it was $139 at the store, so a pretty big discount. I will put that on the screen now so you guys can do a screenshot and bring that up to your local store. I think it's good to almost the end of the year, or you could Google search and maybe find the coupon as well. Alright, so first things first, this thing is very heavy. I'm going to throw it down so we can get it open. It comes in kind of a non-branded box with just the Pittsburgh logo on the sides here. If you can't see that, it's right here and right here. I'm going to go ahead and cut this open here. This is how it came. And flip off the top. And I'm going to show you guys what's in the box. So, right off the bat, you've got some really heavy-duty braces. It says 1 ton heavy-duty on there. Another brace with a set of wheels. Another brace with a set of wheels. And then we've got some boxes we're going to set off to the side that's probably got all of our hardware in there. This looks like it might be for pumping up or moving. We've got some other braces that are wrapped. Set those off to the side. Then we've got our main part here with 3 wheels on it, so we'll set that down. This is very, very heavy. Set that down there. And then I believe this is the part that mounts to your actual motor. Of course, I'm going to go through all the instructions, and I believe this slides onto the mount from what I remember taking this motor off. So I'll set that off to the side. Oh, looks like we got another box, and I believe these pieces are going to be to attached to the stand or the motor as well. So we'll set those off to the side. And you've got your instructions. And that's about it. Alright, so let's get into the instructions now and see what we got to do. Okay guys, so the instructions say to place the right and left leg 1 and 9 into the base. So what that means is this is your legs right here, and your base is actually the 3-wheel part. Right behind me I've got that base, and I've already slid in one of the legs. Now the important part on these instructions that can sound confusing is it says to make sure your wheels are angled inward. The picture shows a pretty heavy angle, but if you look down here, it's not that easy to tell. So what I did was tried to figure out, okay, so this nut that is on the outside, that's where the wheel is angling in, and the bolt is on the outside. So the bolt slides through and the nut goes on. So that's an easy indication that you've got it correct. Now, these are pretty easy to put on. I did not put the left side on, but I did put the right side. So I'm going to put the left side on for you now to show you. Basically, you're just going to pull these cotter pins out. You can use a pair of pliers, but they're actually so easy. They come out by hand. And then you're going to take your pins out. All you do now is take this piece here, slide it into the little groove, and you're going to line up the holes using the pin. And there's really only one way for it to go in, because there is another hole in the middle here, but that will not line up with a hole on your bracket here. Then you just take your pins, snap it right back over. All right, and now that everything is secure. So, just to get a little closer to see, your pins slide right into the hole and snap in. This way they can't spin around. Once again, down on the end here, your nuts on the inside and your bolt parts on the outside. And you can see the little bit of angle, and these are welded on, so that angle will always stay. All right, now we're going to move on to the next step. Okay guys, so the next step is to attach the column 4 to the base 2, so the same base that we're using the bolts, washers, and nuts 14. Do not fully tighten bolts in place until after step 4. So what the heck do they mean by washer and nuts 14? So before recording this part, I grabbed this box that I showed you guys earlier, and inside that box is a bag of bolts and nuts. And look how awesome this is. They actually finally figured out a system where they bolted the washers and nuts together. Now it gets even better than that. All right, I gotta stop right here and let you guys know that Harbor Freight finally figured out how to help us all out at home, so that we don't have to try to figure out what the heck size bolt goes into what hole, what washer goes with it, what nut goes with it. If you've ever put anything together from any of these type of places, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, check this out. So, on the top of this bolt, I gotta focus on this, is a 14. On this bolt is one washer and one nut. Just like they said, you have to bolt it with the nut and washer. So 14. I gotta say, that's by far the easiest way for every consumer to be able to put one of these things together. So, out of this bag, you're gonna grab 2 number 14s with the washer and nut on it. Couldn't be any simpler than that. Now, here's where it got a little bit difficult. So, you're gonna grab this part right here, okay? I'm gonna step back a second. It's got a round part on top. That is your piece that's gonna go into your base number 2. Now, what they didn't explain was, does it tilt forward or does it tilt back? So if you look at all the photos, you can see that it's tilting back. Now, here's how I was able to figure out if that was the right mounting. This is your next step where you're gonna put the braces on. So I put the braces on and I checked to see if it could go either way, and it will not allow you to mount it in the forward position. It won't reach. So that eliminates that. So basically you're going to mount it with a slight tilt backwards and with this welding, this round welding part towards the back. So that's how you kind of know. So you're going to lay that there. You're going to slide your bolt with your washer up or down, I mean on the outside, on the top here. And then you're going to bolt it on the inside with your nut. So let's go ahead and get that set up now. Okay guys, I was so excited about how they label these things that I think I slipped, and a second ago I said that the washer goes on top, but it does not. You want to slide your bolt in just like this, and I already set up the other side. And all you got to do is get it to line up through the hole. Okay, then you grab your washer and you slide that on, and then you grab your nut and you hand tighten that. So you don't want to tighten this fully up yet. And the reason why is because of our next step. And our next step, we're going to be grabbing these braces. So let me get set up and we'll be putting these on right now. Okay guys, so we're going to be doing steps 3 and 4 next, and that is aligning these braces, the ones that I grabbed a second ago, on either side of column 4 hole and secured with bolts, washer, and nuts 13. So it's one bolt that's going to hold on both those braces in the middle, and then the next step you're going to attach them on the bottom using washer and nut 17. So there's going to be 2 of those because they're on each side. And I'm going to show you guys what I mean by that. This is our top hole here. This is where we're going to get that number 13. We're basically going to line this brace here. There are 2 of those and they're identical, with it flared down or flared up on the top. Really only one way to do it. And you're going to take your bolt number 13 and you're going to put that through. I don't think it matters which side, but you're going to want to have the bolt go through. On the other side, you're going to want the nut and washer. And you're going to want to secure it lightly there. And then you're going to grab your other 2 bolts and washers and you're basically going to align them down at the bottom. Okay, now we're going to basically attach it to the bottom. Make sure both of these arms are on the inside, not on the outside of these braces. You're going to grab your 17 bolt, and in the photo they have it on this bolt part on the outside. I don't think it matters. You know, it's basically going to do the same thing. It's just a matter of looks. And then you're going to want to throw your washer and your nut on. Now I'm not tightening any of these up because I want to make sure everything's going to be in position. Now I'm going to slide this a little bit over so you guys can see. Same thing on this side. You're going to take your bolt and your washer off, okay? And then you're going to slide your bolt through on the outside. Like I said, I don't think it's going to matter if you do it on the inside. And see, I've got to kind of align this up now. If I had tightened everything up, it would be a lot more difficult. And once I get that to line up, I'll be able to get that bolt through and I'll be able to tighten it all up. Okay guys, so I'm glad I'm doing this like live because I did have to loosen up this bolt right here because my brace was not loose enough to slide over. It is a 22 millimeter and you're gonna have to hold the top and bottom. Now I'm able to slide my bolt, my washer and nut on. I had actually just hand tightened that just a little too much and I had to loosen it up. So that is basically how our setup is going to look so far. So that is through that first page of instructions 1 through 4, and now we can pretty much tighten everything up. Okay guys, probably one of the most important things we're going to do is make sure we tighten up each one of these bolts. We've got the one top that's holding in the 2 braces. We've got our one there and our one there that's holding this entire post on. Make sure you tighten them really tight. And we've got our 2 brace bolts. Now we can actually move on to the next step, which is going to be mounting this post here, which is on our instructions. It's the slide the mounting of the mounting plate, so they're calling that mounting plate number 6, into the collar of the column, align the holes and insert the pin. Okay, and then you're going to slide off one of the handles of the rubber grip and insert it into the handle 5 through the large hole at the end of the mounting plate post. So what that means is we're just going to grab this and we're going to slide that all the way through. Now you can see on this there are a bunch of holes, and that's so you can spin your motor. So I'm going to align it so it's straight up and down, and then you're going to line that hole, and you're going to grab this pin that's was in your bag of bolts and nuts, and you're just going to slide that through. Now that keeps it from moving. Now what they mean by the rubber handle is you've got this piece here. We're going to slide off one of these ends. I can actually do that right now. It's pretty easy to slide off. Okay, and then you're going to slide that through this right here, and you're going to put your other rubber piece on the end of it, and that's how that works. So that allows you to grip and turn your motor, and I guess these rubber pieces are supposed to hold it. Probably the first thing that I've seen that's not very, very secure are these rubber handles. Outside of that, this has been extremely heavy duty, extremely easy to set up, and we don't have much more to do. So the next step I'm going to show you guys. Okay guys, we move on to the final section, and that is attaching these motor mount brackets. I feel like this is the most customizable part, but I was able to go through this instruction manual, which just states to attach arms 7 and 8, 7 being the short, 8 being the long, to the plate number 6 using the number 10, which is your last nut bolt washer setup. And so I hooked up 2 of them. As you can see on the angled one, I used the longer 8s, which that is this, and the shorter ones on the straight across. So they're going to go on the 2 top, the shorter ones, and the longer ones on the bottom. Now the way that I put the bolts on was they came set up with the larger washer towards the bottom, the shorter washer there. So I basically just removed that nut and removed the bottom washer, took my mounting thing here, slid that through, slid it through, put my washer on the back side, and then attached my nut. Now I did not tighten these fully up because we're going to be mounting this on that 2jz motor here in a second. And what I'm going to do is remove this entire plate, slide this whole unit up to the back of my car to make sure I've got proper height, and then we're going to mount that using bolts that we have to actually go down and buy to mount to the motor. And I'm going to show you guys how we're going to do that. Let me get this last bracket on there and I'll show you guys what to do after that to actually mount a motor up. Okay guys, before we mount it up, I wanted to show you real quick that all you have to do is take the cotter pin out and slide this pin out here, and you can fold up this entire thing for storage. That's one of the cool benefits of the 1-ton, 2,000-pound engine mount that the 1,000-pound and the 750-pound do not have. So it's kind of a cool little thing, and it allows you to store it a lot easier than the other ones. And then I've also went ahead and mounted up our motor mount. So that's going to be right on the back where this flywheel is, and you want to find stud holes. Now, I was able to use the bolts that I had that were specifically for this motor because they were long enough for the holes down here, but I did not have enough to go through threaded through these ones here. So I had to find 2 holes that were not threaded, and I went down and got some bolts. I went a little bit longer than I needed for them, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to only thread in a few threads, and I put lock nuts on here. I'm hoping these are going to be strong enough because it was the only thing they had at the store that would work. All the other sizes would not fit through the entire motor. So I went and tightened everything up. It feels extremely secure. I am on a slight decline here. I'm going to back this car up a little bit, but what you can see, the concept of this is you're going to be able to slide your stand, pull the motor down to the end, and if you have a decline, it makes it really easy to line that right up, slide it in, slide your pin in, and I highly suggest 2, 3, even 4 adults to do an engine of this size. This 2jz is extremely heavy. I'm not sure exactly the weight of it, but I want to say it's over 500 pounds with everything on it like this. It's got the head and the block, so you want to be very, very cautious when moving this thing around. It could crush you. It could definitely break your feet, break your hands, and so let the engine fall. If something does slip, the number 1 rule is just let the engine fall. You can fix any of the parts on it or replace them, but you cannot sometimes fix damaged bones. You know, this thing can cause some serious injury, and the last thing you want is to not be able to use one of your hands anymore because you decided to try to save an engine that there's no way you're going to be able to hold on to. So with that out of the way, safety, safety, safety. I'm waiting for my friend Xavier to come up here. He's part of the channel. He does a lot of videos with me, and he's going to help me line it up. And we're going to mount this thing on here, and then we're going to slide it right into our garage so we can work on it. So stay tuned. It's going to be a couple of minutes before he gets here, and then we'll mount everything up, and you guys can see how it goes onto the stand. Okay, guys, so we figured out the best way to get this thing mounted up on here. We tried using 2 jacks and jacking it up from the bottom, but that was just too unstable. So what we did, we rolled the car right up onto some ramps, put the e-brake on, and put it into park, which allowed us to slide the engine slowly back, and then we got the pin in, so everything's good, and it's only maybe 1/8 of an inch off the ground, so we'll be able to rock it onto there. So I'm going to record that so you guys can see how it comes out of the car. Here we go. Okay. This is the scary kind of part here. Mm-hmm.
Can we move this?
And should be able to let go. Should be good.
Oh, it's by itself?
Yeah?
Yes.
Sam, you shouldn't have to do anything.
Yes.
Alright. So we're in the clear now. It is on the stand. It seems very stable. I do have to say, I'm going to review it a 10 out of 10 because I was able to get everything mounted up. I mean, you can see she is very stable compared to other engine mounts I've seen. We know we can move it around the shop without any issues, and it's very well built. It folds away. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. This is Pete's Carport, Xavier, who just helped me out in getting this mounted. And yeah, we have lots of videos coming. This is just the start. I wanted to review this because I've never bought an engine mount, and I'm excited to use this one. I highly recommend it. You guys have an awesome week.